You believe that transparency is a virtue. You believe that by sharing everything with your closest friend, your business partner, or your right-hand man, you are building an unbreakable bond of trust. This is the exact delusion that precedes every catastrophic betrayal in human history. When you give someone complete visibility into how your life or your empire operates, you do not create loyalty. You create a roadmap for your own replacement. To understand why the most powerful leaders in history never trusted anyone with the full picture, and how you can adopt their ultimate defensive habit, we must look at a king who ruled not with a sword, but with a web. In the 15th century, France was violently unstable. Powerful feudal lords constantly conspired to overthrow the monarchy. Assassinations and coups were everyday occurrences. Then came King Louis XI. He was physically frail. He was not a warrior, yet he survived every single assassination attempt and crushed every rebellion without ever drawing his sword. History remembers him as the universal spider. His survival relied on one brutal, unbreakable habit: absolute information compartmentalization. Louis never held a full council where all his ministers sat in one room. He never shared his entire grand strategy with anyone, not even his closest advisors. If he was planning a military campaign, the general knew only about the troops. The treasurer knew only about the gold. The diplomat knew only about the treaties. None of them knew what the others were doing. Only the spider sat in the center of the web. When a group of nobles inevitably tried to bribe his ministers to orchestrate a coup, the plot immediately collapsed. The traitorous ministers realized, with terrifying clarity, that they were useless to the enemy. They only held one piece of a massive puzzle. Without the king to connect the pieces, their knowledge meant nothing. They could not betray him, because it was impossible to operate the machine without him. Louis XI understood a profound truth about human nature. If a man knows exactly how the lock works, he will eventually fashion his own key. Society romanticizes the idea of the inner circle. We are taught that to be a great leader or a true friend, you must be an open book. You must delegate total authority. You must empower people by giving them access to everything. This advice is manufactured to make you vulnerable. Human beings are highly adaptive, calculating creatures. When someone is given full access to your systems, your secrets, and your resources, an invisible psychological shift occurs. At first, they are grateful, but as they learn the exact mechanics of how you operate, the mystery fades. Familiarity breeds contempt. Once they realize they can do exactly what you do, and they possess the same information, they ask a dangerous question. Why do I still need them? The moment your value is completely decoded, your authority drops to zero. You have transitioned from being a necessary leader to being a redundant obstacle. Betrayal is rarely born out of sudden hatred. It is born out of calculated convenience. When you give away the full puzzle, you remove the only reason people have to rely on you. Untouchable leaders do not rely on blind loyalty. They rely on structural dependence. They make sure that no matter how close someone gets, they never see the bottom of the well. Let us observe how this plays out in the modern arena of business and ambition. You start a small, highly profitable venture. It begins to grow faster than you can manage. You are exhausted. You decide to hire a brilliant, hungry operator to be your right hand. You want to be a good boss. You want them to feel like an owner. So, You open the gates. You introduce them to all your top clients. You give them access to the core financial accounts. You teach them your exact proprietary formula for success. You sigh with relief. You step back, trusting them completely. 2 years later, you walk into the office to find their desk empty. Your phone rings. It is your biggest client, calling to inform you they are taking their business elsewhere. To your former right-hand man, you are devastated. You curse their lack of loyalty. But you are the architect of your own ruin. You built the guillotine and handed them the rope. You made yourself entirely unnecessary to your own operation. Now, consider the strategic alternative. You hire the brilliant operator. You pay them well. You give them total control over the internal logistics. But you, and only you, maintain the direct relationships with the top clients. You, and only you, hold the master passwords to the financial infrastructure. You give them enough power to be highly effective, but never enough power to be autonomous. If they decide to leave, they leave with logistical experience, but they cannot take the empire. The machine halts the second they try to run it without you. You did not trust their morals. You secured the structure. This law of compartmentalization is equally ruthless in your personal life. Look at how people handle their deepest secrets. You go through a dark period in your life. You make a severe mistake. You confide the entire, unfiltered truth to your absolute best friend. You give them the names, the evidence. You feel a brief moment of emotional relief. 5 years later, the two of you have a massive, bitter falling out. Suddenly, you feel a cold spike of terror. That person holds the nuclear launch codes to your reputation. You gave them the ultimate leverage. Your peace of mind is now a permanent hostage to their mood. If they decide to seek revenge, they do not have to invent a lie. They just have to tell your truth. Look at romantic relationships. The person who reveals every past trauma, every weakness, believe they are building intimacy. They are actually handing over an instruction manual on how to psychologically destroy them. A manipulator will take that manual, memorize your triggers, and use them to control you when the honeymoon phase ends. Absolute transparency is a luxury that predators prey upon. The people who never get betrayed understand that certain doors in their mind must remain permanently locked. Imagine you are the warden of a massive, impenetrable vault filled with gold. The vault has 3 distinct locks. If you hire a guard and give him all 3 keys, you are no longer the warden. You are just a man waiting to be robbed. The master strategist hires 3 guards. He gives the first guard the combination to the outer gate. He gives the second guard the physical key to the inner door. He gives the third guard the retinal skin required for the vault itself. None of the guards know the other 2. None of them possess the full sequence. If one guard turns greedy, he is staring at a wall of steel he cannot breach. To steal the gold, they would have to find each other and coordinate a flawless conspiracy, a statistical impossibility. The gold is safe because treason has been rendered structurally impossible. Your mind, your business, and your reputation are the vault. Stop handing out all 3 keys. To insulate yourself from betrayal, you must transition from an open book to a locked vault. Here is the tactical framework for strategic compartmentalization. Rule 1. The rule of the withheld variable. Never teach anyone 100% of what you know. Teach them 90%. That final 10% is your leverage. It is the invisible magic that makes you irreplaceable. Let them be great, but never let them be independent. Rule 2. Divide the vanguard. If you manage a team, never let any single person become the central hub of all communication. You must be the hub. Control the flow of information. Do not let subordinates bypass you to share critical intelligence. If they cannot collude, they cannot conspire. Rule 3. Feign vulnerability. People will naturally try to dig for your secrets. Feed them a false secret. Share a minor, manufactured weakness. Let them feel they have the upper hand. It satisfies their ego and stops them from digging for the real skeletons. Rule 4. Rotate the keys. Never let someone get too comfortable in their access. Shift responsibilities. Change passwords. Audit your own systems. The moment someone feels entitled to your inner sanctum is the moment they begin plotting to own it. Adopting this habit alters perception. When you stop oversharing, people will call you secretive. When you stop delegating absolute power, they will call you a control freak. Let them say it. The people who complain the loudest about your boundaries are usually the ones who intended to exploit them. You are operating on a higher, colder plane of strategic realism. You will watch other leaders get backstabbed and feel only calm recognition. You will become the architect of your own environment. Untouchable, unpredictable, unbetrayable. You do not need to look over your shoulder, because you have ensured that no one standing behind you holds a sharp enough knife. Trust is an emotion. Survival is an equation. When you rely on the loyalty of others, you are gambling with your life. Keep them guessing, keep them dependent, and watch how quickly their loyalty becomes permanent. This is the path of Niccolo.